Allegiance. Now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning again, everyone. I'd like to call our meeting to order. We'll begin with approval of the minutes for October 27th, 2020. Questions, comments, or motion?
A motion to approve.
Okay, I have a first, I have a second. Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Next, commissioners' reports and comments. Commissioner Kiefer.
Sure. Just two things here, both related. I wanted to take an opportunity to thank all of our poll workers and the Board of Election staff over these last several days. Turnout has been phenomenal. My wife and I were able to early vote on Sunday, and we hit a sweet spot where we only had to wait for 50 minutes.
Wow,
but
that's pretty good.
I know many people have had to wait much longer than that. And I'm glad I early voted because I visited some of our polls this morning to help some candidates with their signs, and at least in Hancock, the line was around the school.
Yeah.
So it was quite a lengty wait today yet again. But just thanks to all the poll workers. I know they worked hard, and that's a kind of a tough job. And they do put in long hours and deal with a lot of people, especially during COVID. So thanks to all of them and the staff. The Board of Election staff was great. When I was there, apparently someone had donated pizza to the workers. There was a lot of pizza left over, so they shared that with people standing in line. So that was nice to see. While I was out at one of our early voting centers, I ran into our Board of Election President, Marty Lum, and he wanted me to extend a thanks to the commissioners for their Board of Elections early voting headquarters. They don't know what they would have done this year without that, with the high turnout that they've had, and finding another location to house that and to have everything kind of consolidated under one roof. So we got that ready just in time, I think, for this election. So just forwarding that thanks along to all of us.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Meimelschmidt.
I'd just like to extend on Commissioner Kiefer's there that please check the app Facebook page for the times. They could save you a little bit if you don't mind traveling from one to the other, because I know I looked at it this morning. North High was at an hour and a half, and Girls Inc. was at no wait at all. So check that. It might be 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of your way, but it could save you an hour.
Okay, Randy.
I shared what Commissioner Kiefer said. I experienced the same thing on Sunday. The building really looks good. We've done a real good job with their assistance on getting the voting center looking really good. And that app on our government website, that app is handy. I was at the office early this morning and had everybody lined up where they're going to go to vote because of the wait times. Anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. Again, I want to echo, I was out there Sunday evening with my dad to vote at the early voting center. They recognized my dad's age and they brought him inside, and as they did others, for a placeholder so the older folks didn't have to stand. We were fortunate it was under 50 minutes for our wait too, but it's pleasant or great to see that after 5 or 6 days of those tremendous crowds, the politeness and the respectfulness of all those poll workers out there. They were very accommodating and smiling, and you'd hear them cheer every now and then. And when they cheered, that was when a first-time voter had just voted, and they were recognizing that honor for that person to vote at that time. So again, thanks to all the Board of Elections folks and their volunteers that making this such a success under these circumstances of the extra voting. With that being said, that concludes my report. We will now go to staff comments. Is staff, anybody here coming forward? Agenda item? Krista, anything for you?
I do. I have 2 boards and commissions. I have the Washington County Environmental Management Advisory Committee wishing to accept the recommendation to appoint Mark Mishler to serve a first 3-year term from September 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2023, to reappoint Brock Schreiber, Eric Sarmentio, Randall Morin, and Lisa Horn, each to serve a full 3-year term from September 1st 2020 through October 31st, 2023.
And which committee is this again?
This is the Environmental Management
Gotcha.
Advisory Committee.
Commissioners, thoughts, comments? Motion?
Motion to approve the appointments to environmental.
Okay, I have a first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
And-
Before, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have one other. I have the Veterans Advisory Committee. They are wishing to, for acceptance, to appoint the following recommendations. Laura Jean Unsworth to serve a first 3-year term from November 1st, 2020 through October 31st, 2023 as a representative from a veteran organization that provides a service to veterans. Stephanie Pulver to serve a first 3-year term from November 1st through October 31st, 2023 as a veteran representative. William Rulin to serve a first 2-year term as a staggered term as outlined in the bylaws from November 1st through October 31st, 2022 as a veteran representative. And finally, Jacob Demers to serve a first 1-year term, again staggered terms, from November 1st, 2020 through October 31st, 2021 as the 4th of 4 veteran representatives.
Would that complete the membership
That
on the
completes
board?
the membership.
Okay.
The board plans to begin formally meeting in December.
Hey, commissioners, there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
A first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Jeff, can I say, Krista, just a question. I know the health advisory has been trying to get somebody appointed. Did you get that from them yet, or?
I'm working with them on recommendations and forwarding new apps and so forth as they come in.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working to get those done.
All right, thank you. Mr. Downey, any reports from you today?
Just follow up on the comment regarding the turnout for the election. I think we also should extend our appreciation to Sheriff Mullendore, Chief Kiefer, the fire police, and their staff for the assistance that they've been providing with traffic control at some of the sites. So that's certainly appreciated, and hope everyone has a safe time as they exercise their right to vote that we are fortunate to have as American citizens.
Thank you. One thing I admitted, Commissioner Baker did call and he's running a little late, so he'll be here shortly. Thank you, Krista, for that notification of that. Next on our agenda is our property acquisition for Eastern Boulevard. Mr. Moser, would you come forward and introduce yourself in the matter, please?
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator. This is property acquisition for the widening of Eastern Boulevard. Move to approve the option agreement for partial property acquisition, including fee simple and/or easements for 536 Antietam Drive, and to approve an ordinance approving said purchase, and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. Option agreements have been executed for the above stated property. The fee simple and easement acquisitions are shown in the table below. Property again is 536 Antietam Drive, 4,092 square feet in fee simple, 1,756 in revertible slope easement, 6,734 in temporary construction easement. Acquisition cost $6,506.21. Eastern Boulevard will be widened from 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, to 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction, from Jefferson Boulevard, Maryland 64 to Antietam Drive, and the construction will occur in several phases of work as indicated in the capital improvement plan. I do have one revision for the ordinance. At the top, the title there says Phase 3. This is Phase 2. Any questions?
That's more of a change of the page number, not substance of the. Commissioners, any comments, questions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Hagerstown Regional Airport budget adjustment. Mr. Mr. Plessinger, please introduce yourself and the matter.
Thank you, Commissioners. Garrison Plessinger, Director of the Hagerstown Regional Airport. We're here to discuss a budget adjustment. The airport is the recipient of the Federal CARES Act. Funding was in the amount of $1,126,907. This funding will be used for wages and benefits from January 26, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. The first CARES Act reimbursement was in the amount of $442,621 and covered wages and benefit costs through June 30th, 2020. The second reimbursement is anticipated at $684,286 and will be for wages and benefits for costs incurred during FY 2021. These funds have provided an opportunity to utilize other airport revenues for various purposes. We are requesting a budget adjustment in the following: airfield controllable operations, airport rescue firefighting controllable assets, general operations controllable assets, land and improvements, rental properties capitalized renovation, terminal controllable assets, CIP equipment, and also CIP airport security. These total a little under $500,000. The detailed disbursement of the funds is also attached in the agenda. The remaining airport revenues will be put into the airport reserves at the end of the year. I'm looking forward for the consensus to move forward with the budget adjustment as presented. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, comments? Any questions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed?
I had another question for Garrison, though, on another quick subject. Sure. Did you ever give us a report on, didn't we get for employments for Legion, didn't we earn some money for that, or maybe?
Yes. So in order to receive a $1 million entitlement funding, we have to have over 10,000 claimants for the airport. And through Allegiant, we were able to hit that this year.
So we got $1 million from Allegiant.
That's correct. Well, not necessarily from Allegiant,
No,
but from
not
the
from-
FAA.
yeah.
Correct. Yep.
And where did that go, just for curiosity?
It mainly goes to a lot of our CIP projects that we have.
Congratulations on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, InterGovernment Cooperative Purchase Playground Equipment, Parks and Facilities. Please introduce yourself and the matter.
Good morning. Brandy Nagelmeyer in the Washington County Purchasing Office.
Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Good morning.
Good morning. The recommendation I have for you this morning is for the Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchase, INTG 20-0050, for playground equipment for the parks and facilities. We recommend to move by, authorized by resolution for the Parks Department to purchase playground equipment from Playground Specialties out of Thurmont, Maryland, and to utilize the Houston-Galveston Area Council contract for the total sum amount of $148,680.58. The public law does allow the county to procure services and goods through a contract entered into by another government entity. By using the Houston-Galveston area contract and eliminating the county's bid process, there will be a great cost savings due to the economies of scale that this contract has secured. Funding is available in the CIP projects for this department. Project funding source 90% open space and 10% local match.
Commissioners, comments?
Just real quick question. Where's this playground equipment going?
Marty Snook Park, some of it will be going near Pavilion 1, Pavilion 3, and then the fitness equipment, which is also included in this, is at the western end of the park at the end or turnaround of the fitness trail.
Commissioners, any other comments?
Make the motion to approve as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Is there any more discussion?
I'll abstain, because of arriving late. and not
Okay,
being
that's
able to
fine.
detail.
We could go back and brief you if you want, or,
Well, go ahead.
are you okay? All right, just wanted to make sure. All right, Commissioners, I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0, and 1 abstain. Thank you, Commissioner Baker.
Thank you.
Next up, contract award treatment for substance abuse. Rick Curry, please come forward, introduce yourself in the matter.
Morning, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Good morning.
Subject before you is contract award PUR 1479, treatment for substance use disorder at Washington County Sheriff's Office Day Reporting Center. Motion moved to award a contract for treatment for substance use disorder at Washington County Sheriff's Day Reporting Center in Washington County to responsible proposer, Serenity Treatment Centers Incorporated, Hagerstown, Maryland, with the responsive so proposer amount of $53,958. You have an excerpt of the attachment to the R for the work that they'll be doing. It's a one-year contract with 4-year, 1-year options to renew at the discretion of the Sheriff's Department. As long as the Governor's Office funds the program, then we should be good to go. We had 184 individuals download the document. We had 1 proposal. We had 1 person to attend the pre-conference teleconference. And we have a concurrence or a recommendation from the coordinating committee. Are there any questions? I might not be able to answer, but I'll
Funding
try.
from the Governor's Office of,
Won't be any county
Children's
funds
state
involved,
funds.
state funding.
My only question is, since we had 184 and only 1 responded, do you know of a reason why it was so low?
I normally do call for the individuals who download, but I will be honest, I did not do it on this one. But I can get the information for you.
I'm just wondering if there's just something that they couldn't do, if it was, what it was, since it was such a large amount and only 1 responded.
I will get that information and share it with the board.
Commissioners, any other questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
A first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Vote. Thank you, Mr. Curry.
Thank you.
Next up, Restaurant Relief Program. I think Jonathan, please introduce yourself in the matter.
Morning, Commissioners. Jonathan Horowitz, Department of Business Development.
Good
And
morning.
I believe we have calling in Susan Small, Director of Department of Business Development as well. I'm here today to present an agenda item which I believe has possibly 2 motions to it. This is the Restaurant Relief Program and the use of the allocation of the remaining amount of CARES Act funding that we had in the original Rise Up grant program. So today, the recommended motions are to move to approve the acceptance of $1,352,231 of grant funding from the Maryland Department of Business Management through the Department of Commerce for the provision of a restaurant relief program in Washington County. Report in brief, just for some information for the public, because I'm sure they'll be interested in this. Maryland launched a new $50 million grant program to provide direct relief to restaurants across the state of Maryland. These grants can be used for working capital, such as rent, payroll, job training, purchase of equipment and services to expand their outdoor dining, such as tents, heaters, warmers, and carts, infrastructure improvements to impact their COVID compliance, such as HVAC system upgrades, and technology to support their carryout and delivery efforts. Purchase of PPE and disposable food containers, et cetera, are also permitted under this grant program. And we did follow the state's recommendations and guidelines for the administration of this program. These funds will be allocated to local jurisdictions in the form of a grant dispersed to businesses, and it has to be dispersed no later than December 31st of this year. The state provided us clear guidelines on how to disperse this money. And based under this, the restaurant establishments in this jurisdiction, we did receive $1,352,231 of the $50 million that the state allocated to this program. So my motion for that is to motion to have the commissioners accept that money from the state.
Commissioners, do we have any questions first, or we'd entertain a motion for the grant acceptance as explained?
Recommended motion for.
There's a first or a second.
I'll second that.
The first and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just as this is going on, I'm sure you're gonna report back to the commissioners on, how many restaurants are applying for it, the acceptance rate, and of course, if anybody didn't get accepted, following up and finding out why they didn't accept it and see if they can get that money.
Absolutely, Court. And also, we have a cutoff date on this one of March, the business must have been established by March 1st of 2020. But of course, we want to reserve the right to examine individual cases as they may come through.
Okay, any more questions?
Jonathan, I was actually contacted by a restaurant to see what the county was doing with this. They had saw the governor's press conference. I suppose he had on Friday. I don't know when it was. That's not important. Whenever it was. One thing another restaurant had shared with me, and I see the disposable food containers are included in this. Maryland now has a law, right, about disposable food containers can't be made of styrofoam.
Correct. That has been adopted.
Some businesses have a huge inventory of those styrofoam containers that they can't use that has some values. And the one restaurant in particular that had business operations in another state, they were just able to, send those to West Virginia to be used at their West Virginia restaurant. But I'm wondering, could the state grant any kind of temporary relief? Restaurants are really suffering, and they may have some leftover styrofoam containers, or they may be cheaper to purchase right now than those heavy plastic disposable containers. Just wondering if maybe we could get a
That could be a good
does
item.
that make
for,
sense?
That
What
could
I'm
be a
asking
good
for?
legislative
Like
item.
a moratorium or
Yeah.
like sort of grandfather in on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Let those be used for a year or during the state of emergency. That's just an added expense right now that's pretty heavy on a restaurant.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That might be something as a legislative item that we present later today or to our delegation. Because they've got to stop using them, correct?
Do they have emergency legislative items?
I don't know.
So by April, maybe a new point.
Yeah, well, it's a good point. All right.
Well, I can
I don't know
certainly
that
start turning over some leaves. at
They
least
haven't
to bring
closed
that
special
subject up.
sessions.
All right, is there any other discussion or questions for this motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Could you send the commissioners the information of the restaurant is interested or needs help? If you send us contact information, then we can just give them that contact information, they can work through your office.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On the next question, how quickly do you guys think you'll be able to get this going?
That we've designed the program, we have designed the application. It's a fillable PDF again, basically it's modeled after our original Rise Up. We are aiming at getting the money out swiftly, and especially since this program has to be basically concluded by the end of the year. So our aim there was basically to get it out quickly. We are anticipating opening the program Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. for applications, based on your
I
decision.
think there's flexibility to include caterers.
Yeah, there's
Correct.
the restrictions and outlines are in the first part of the application, which has been included in
Okay, and that's coming out Wednesday,
Wednesday morning, 8
tomorrow.
a.m.
That's outstanding.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Next motion is we have a little remaining funding in the original Rise Up Business Stabilization Program. We have about $800,000 left in that program, and the program was closed. Its last application wave was closed, and we are not receiving further applications for that. So we would like to propose a motion to have the commissioners reallocate that money basically back to the people that were already approved for the original Rise Up program. We have just over, I'd say, 850 local businesses that were already approved, went through the entire application process, and all their financials were examined and verified. At this point, our department is making the suggestion that we take the remaining amount of money and simply divide it up amongst the people that received the original Rise Up grant, which would come to be about just over another $1,000 per business.
Okay.
I'm gonna say one thing, I hope it's not true, but I would just wanna make sure that, the businesses are still in business before we send them a check.
That is an absolute requirement, yes. Now, we've had a couple instances where businesses left their brick and mortar, but continued to operate their business maybe in a mobile operation. So we're considering them still valid because they kept their local business license and all their taxes current.
Have you heard much scuttlebutt from businesses that just missed it? Have you had a lot of calls from businesses that just missed it and didn't get anything?
I would not describe it as a lot. Of course, there are some segments of the community that are harder to reach with our public relations. You know, as an example, I would just use as like Chinese restaurants. Some of these people aren't necessarily integrated into the social media that we use, so it was a little bit more difficult for them to hear about this. But what we did in our department was we tried to create an outreach program. We went out, I created some flyers and little slips, and we canvassed the county and just dropped these things off. As I would drop one off, I would say, please tell all your, you know, all your cohorts and all your friends that work in this industry to do the same. So we made as I can see it, our greatest effort to get the news out to people.
Okay.
But I think the answer to your question is yes, there will always be somebody that heard about it late, yes.
Okay, any other questions?
I think Sarah had a comment.
I'd just like to remind the commissioners that last week, Tom Brown on the 27th was here to make a presentation before you to reallocate unused funds of the CARES Act. And it was approximately $2 million, and any change to what is being proposed today would also change that $2 million number down.
I thought that was for the non-business related CARES Act.
Those funds included any remaining funds related to the CARES Act on the non-healthcare side. So it did include the $800,000 that's being presented here today.
And just a refresher, what's Tom? So there was the figures around 200,000, right?
2 million
I mean,
was
2
the
million.
remaining
Yeah, what was
funds.
that going to be? So this 800 would deduct from that 2 million.
That's correct, and that 2 million was gonna be used to reimburse municipal, volunteer fire and emergency services companies and county funds related to public safety wages.
If we gave a consensus on that, which is coming back.
You did, and we've sent out a request to receive that
It's
information.
pretty hard to
Yeah, I
go
thought
back on that.
I thought this was above that since that was the non-business, so that's including this.
It is. It does include this 800,000.
We
I was
apologize.
unaware.
We were unaware of that too. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say we can't do, I couldn't do your plan now with that in mind, so I don't know.
Sorry.
Sorry,
I didn't know
yeah,
you were coming today.
I didn't know either. So that was new news for us
All right,
too.
let's table that motion for now. Thank you very
Sarah,
much.
can I ask? I heard that the Community Action Council still has some monies that we gave them for rental assistance that's also in excess. What's the outcome of that money?
Absolutely, they do. We're waiting until the end of November to get a final count from them on what was unavailable, what was not spent. And the prior approach that we had discussed last week was that let's see what comes back from them, and then once we receive all the requests from the municipalities, the fire and EMS companies, that we would allocate based on the total amount of remaining funds. That will come before the commissioners again, and so if the commissioners want to see what funds remain and then make a determination at that time how much they're going to allocate to the reimbursement of public safety wages, certainly you have the ability to do that as well. But we had to kind of wait and see. I think they spent close to $250,000 last week when we were in here, so they do have a substantial amount left over. But what I've heard is that it's really picking up. They've gotten the word out. There's been more PR on the subject, and so I do think they're receiving more applications for assistance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one motion passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next agenda item, potential legislative items. Mr. Downey. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you know, next week is the pre-legislative forum that is held by the delegation when they meet with various stakeholders in the community to discuss the upcoming legislative session. Traditionally, the county has met with the delegation and spoke about items that have been identified as requiring the attention of the General Assembly, or to make the delegation aware of concerns we may have regarding certain legislative initiatives that are going to be put forth in Annapolis this year. The two items that have been identified are actually items that were part of the legislative agenda last year. However, they did not make it through the General Assembly because of the abbreviated nature of the session and the early adjournment due to the COVID pandemic. The first one is the medical assistance program regarding emergency service transporters reimbursement for transportation medical services. That is the Medicaid bill that MACO has been pursuing and that we have requested for the last several years. It was filed last year. We'd ask that it be refiled again this year. The second one was a requirement for a zoning certification prior to issuance of a business license. If you recall, that used to be the requirement that before a business license were issued, a zoning certification had to be received to demonstrate that the business could actually be conducted in accordance with the zoning regulations in the place where the business was proposed to be located. There have been certain problems that have arisen without this zoning certification requirement. Specifically, businesses have been given a zoning license, or I'm sorry, businesses have been given a business license. They have entered into a lease or some other bought property, and only to find out after the fact that where they're conducting business is not, the business use is not allowed in that zone. So this is just something that would be logical and help avoid problems rather than finding out about them after the fact and creating all kinds of compliance issues for county staff. Again, that was proposed last year. It was filed, but because of the abbreviated nature of the session, it was not acted upon. And then obviously any other matter identified as requiring legislative action or the attention of the delegation. Obviously, we've heard from Commissioner Kiefer regarding the styrofoam issue. That probably would require some type of legislative change since it was a statewide change of law.
Terry, Mr. Beck had a great point, though. If we wait till March, they might want to check and see if there's some immediate action that could be taken administratively to delay that so these restaurants can not have to absorb that extra cost. So perhaps we can check into that short term.
It may be something that the governor can take care of as a result of the state of emergency.
Thank you.
So we can check with the governor's office.
Commissioners, any other additions or things? You're
Yeah.
not, we have to next week, so you don't have to have everything today.
Just want to give an update on the Medicaid bill. Had a meeting with Senator Quarterman about that. They're definitely going to be resubmitting one also. What they're doing this year is they're hoping to get one bill submitted and cross-filed with the Senate and the House. MACO is definitely supporting this. I think it's Senator Hershey requested that task force or whatever came back, so we got all that information. But there's definitely a positive on both the large and rural counties on getting this adjusted. It looks like it's going to be more just like last year, something in the future, get this bill in there now, and then we'll start, it's going to be a slow increase over the years just like last year. So, but hopefully COVID doesn't stop it again. So the only other thing that I would like to talk about, I know I said in my comments a while ago, and it's not really a bill, but more of just information that we need to make sure that our legislators are aware of, that depending on how Kerwin happens this year, but we've got to be very careful with this maintenance of effort. I know I personally do not want to hold the Board of Education, I want to hold Board of Education harmless for their severe drop in student population, but if we do that, that's going to increase our per student amount significantly, and then the following year, if they get any students back because of COVID, then our number would greatly increase. And we can't afford that, just like the school board can't afford a $30 million loss. We can't afford that huge increase. So I want to make sure that that is heard across the state, and I'm okay holding them harmless next year if they're okay holding us harmless for the drastic increase the following year. That's definitely something that needs to be brought up and kept ahead of attention. But again, it could be a moot point depending on the override of the veto of the Kerwin.
Court, do you know, has a tally been finalized on the enrollment drop? Has that number been?
Not the official number. That has not been.
And do you know when they report that number?
I can find out, but I do not know the what the official number is. It's a specific date on the calendar where they've got to check full attendance. I mean, Commissioner Baker, you probably remember that, where this is the date everyone's got to check attendance if they're in school, and that's
I knew that date 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know it today.
Yeah, same thing. But that's the date that's what they count as attendance. And I don't remember what the date was, and I don't know if it has been reported. But I've heard they're expecting close to 1,000 decline in students.
All right, Commissioners,
We
any
just
other
need to figure out a
suggestions?
way to keep them funded at their current level, possibly, if we can afford it, and not have an effect on the enrollment increase next year.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I'm asking, is I have no problem holding them harmless this coming year, as long as they hold us harmless the following year.
And I'm sure there's ways that they can figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, and it's gotta be the state, so, and that's why I think this is a
Why would it
legislative
have to be
issue.
the state?
Huh?
I don't understand why it would have to be the state.
Because the maintenance of effort number, if we give them if we hold them harmless and they have 1,000 less students, then the per student
No, I
amount.
understand it that way, but I'm sure there's ways that they can figure out for us to provide some relief somewhere else. They know how to shift their money, I don't.
So, but that's
I
my.
understand that, that's a great thing.
You just want to make sure it's legal and we can
Oh,
all
yeah,
come in and
well,
buy it. That's all.
Exactly.
Commissioners, any other suggestions for now or wait till next
Kurt,
week?
did you know if, in the past couple of years, Senator Quarterman was then delegate, did that prisoner release? Do you know if that's still on the books to be, that's one that interests me, the prisoner release?
It's still in the coalition.
So it'd still be moving forward.
Even though it's on the coalition, does it still need to be one of our items?
I'd like it to be one of our items, yeah.
Wouldn't hurt to repeat it, yes indeed, reinforce it.
All right, so we've added the Kerwin hold harmless discussion and prisoner release.
I have 3 items that more just to be like a watch item for our delegation. Is one of, every year we keep hearing that they're going to transfer the full cost of the tax assessment office to the county. I think right now we're currently providing half of that funding. I'd like to make sure we're aware of that, because that cost shifting to us could be a lot of money, so we want to be on alert for that. And again, we're hearing whispers that Kerwin may come back and repeat a little bit to us, so we want to make sure that we have our eyes and thoughts on that from our legislators. And then, of course, we're looking at some type of funding cut from the state, and we want to make sure that any funding cost cuts or loss of revenue to us is as minimal as possible. So that's what I would like my delegation from the Lobby Coalition to them to be aware of and keep us abreast. Okay.
So yeah, last year that, pretty sure that state assessment office bill was going to pass if it wasn't for Kerwin. Now that's just split the cost from 50-50 to 60-40 on us.
Yeah, so
But
just,
you're right, that's always a hot
yeah, I
topic.
guess my point is we want to just make sure if any cost shifting from the state down to us is minimal or not at all, with the certain financial circumstances involved to all. Commissioners, anybody else want to add anything? And you're certainly welcome to.
I'd just like to comment on the voting areas this morning. The one I went to was very efficient. I had to wait about an hour, but when I come out, the line was substantially reduced. I mean, we just need to continue to thank our election board. They're doing an awesome job, very, very efficient, professional. And I knew a lot of the people, the judges there, they wouldn't talk to me because they know they're not supposed to be talking about politics, and they probably thought I'd bring them up, which is probably right.
Thank you.
Anyhow, I
Thank
just
you.
want to thank them for doing an awesome job.
Yeah, Commissioners, I think we all agreed with you earlier. Make sure that goes under comments for Commissioner Baker as well. Friendly,
Oh,
smooth.
it's unbelievable.
All right, is there any other conversation on potential legislative items? Hearing none. A motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 5-0. All right, welcome back, everyone. We have a few matters of business to undertake. Deb Condo, would you introduce yourself in the matter?
Yes, Deborah Kondo, Deputy Director of Human Resources. I'm here to request a hire for the position of Programs Administrator, position number 1679, due to the vacancy of the retirement of Jennifer Swisher. It's a grade 13 position. The person that we're requesting is Mrs. Sonia Hoover, which would be a step 10, annual salary $63,835. This falls under the Division of Emergency Services. This is a full-time position that was budgeted. It was posted internally and externally. There were 63 applicants. 8 interviews were conducted. 4 were internal, 4 were external. Budget and Finance will add value to budget's preparation, both current and future planning needs. As well, Mrs. Hoover's prior experience in grant management will help the Division of Emergency Services ensure continued compliance with reporting requirements for the recent awards of both the SAFER and AFG grants. Her desire to take on new challenges was apparent in her interview, as she had researched the Project Lifesaver, a component of position responsibilities, and found inconsistencies in their information reported. Sonia Hoover's hire date was October 9th, 2000. She's currently at a grade 12, step 11, annual salary of $60,590.40. With this promotion, she would move to a grade 13, step 10, annual salary of $63,835. She's been with the county 20 years and 1 month.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have first and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next.
Next, I would like to request a hire for the position of GIS Coordinator under the Department of Planning and Zoning, Megan Jenkins, which is a grade, it's a grade 13 position. It would be at a step 1. Starting salary would be $51,106. There was 1 application received, 1 interview conducted by Jill Baker and Jennifer Kinzer on March 23rd. The department's recommending Megan Jenkins of Washington County Government for the position. Megan has been working for Washington County for 12 years and has continued to aggressively advance her professional knowledge and production. In her tenure with the county, Megan has achieved certification as Geographic Information Systems Professional and an ESRI Certified Desktop Associate. In addition to her advancement in GIS skills, Megan has recently taken on work duties outside of her job description related to historic preservation planning. Megan's willingness to work above her pay grade without compensation over the last 6 months exemplifies her immeasurable work ethic and team playing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have first and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you,
Thank you
Commissioners.
very much. Gentlemen, I think I need a motion now to go to
Make a
open,
motion to go to
adjourn.
closed session.
Motion to adjourn,
Adjourn and go in closed session.
adjourn,
Oh, make a motion.
adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.